To the young people of the Caribbean who deserve better, and to all the citizens of Caribbean countries and other small island developing states whose lives and livelihoods continue to be imperiled by a climate emergency they did not cause. Where is the justice?
Thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining the Caribbean Climate Justice Project this morning for the launch of Where is the Justice, an anthology of Caribbean youth perspectives on the climate crisis. I'm Nelsia Shalmang, and I am part of the Caribbean Climate Justice Project's communications team. And as a collective, all of us are very pleased to welcome you to this noteworthy launch this morning. Before we move on, just a slight matter of housekeeping. If I can ask everybody to keep their mics muted if you're not speaking. So with that, I want to now extend special greetings to all of the contributors, first and foremost, to Where is the Justice? I also want to extend special greetings to our youth parliamentarians, the supporters of the Caribbean Climate Justice Project and this publication, Where is the Justice, as well as members of the media joining us from across the Caribbean region and even internationally. You will help us spread the word on this publication, as well as how climate change and the climate crisis is affecting the Caribbean region. And for that, we cannot thank you enough. Special greetings are also in order to Dr. Jimmy Fletcher, who is the founder of the Caribbean Climate Justice Project. Now, some of you here might be wondering, what exactly is the Caribbean Climate Justice Project? And I know we have people joining us on Facebook, so some of you, this might be a burning question for you. So in a nutshell, the Caribbean Climate Justice Project seeks to inform and educate on the threats posed to the lives and livelihoods of people in the Caribbean by climate change. We seek to catalyze action on the necessary responses against the climate crisis and climate change at the household, community, national, and regional levels. You can find out more about what the Caribbean Climate Justice Project does by visiting our website, caribbeanclimatejusticeproject.org. The Caribbean Climate Justice Project has been fulfilling its mandate to do just what I mentioned in several ways. Last year, we hosted the first virtual youth parliament featuring debate on a bold and ambitious 13-point resolution on climate justice for Caribbean citizens. You can check out the website, like I said, and our social media pages, Caribbean Climate Justice Project, for more information on that. We also launched a regional competition inviting Caribbean creatives to submit photography, prose, and poetry inspired by their own special interpretations of the climate crisis. And that's why we're here today. We are here to launch the hard work of over 20 Caribbean creatives, and you can support them by purchasing Where is the Justice on Amazon, but we'll get to that a little later. Right now, we want to take some time to spotlight every single one of our creators who are here with us on this launch broadcast, who are watching on Facebook, and some of whom may be at work or unable to join right now, but they'll all be here, and we ask that you give them your support. So let's start off with our photographers. First off, we have Khadija Halliday from St. Lucia, Tasia Rose from Jamaica, Luke Smith from Trinidad, Alsan Ovando, who's from Belize, and Aisha Atherley, also a St. Lucian. And their work is contained within Where is the Justice. It's on the cover, it's on the back, and we are so grateful that they were able to capture the real impacts of the climate crisis and climate change across the region in a visual form, because we know some people really are mostly attracted to photos. Our poets, Ambika, and I'm very sorry if I mispronounce any names, Ambika Jagar Singh of Trinidad and Tobago, Alessandre Jaiser Singh of Guyana, Jeremy Joseph of Trinidad and Tobago, Denzel Romaine of Antigua and Barbuda, Jabari Superville of Trinidad and Tobago, and you will get to hear from some of these post in some of our poets just a little later. Our writers who contributed fantastic pieces of prose to this publication: Lazaro Jackson of Barbados, Anella Shillingford of Dominica, Tasha Edward of St. Lucia, Sharona Nichols of Trinidad and Tobago, Dominic Williams of St. Kitts and Nevis, Debbie Ann Ashby of Trinidad and Tobago, Mariel Garcia of Trinidad and Tobago, Shawnee Richards, also of Trinidad and Tobago, Natalia Green of Jamaica, Keela Roberts of Trinidad and Tobago, as well as Sage Mitchell of Trinidad and Tobago, Stacia Martindale of Barbados, Sherry Frank of Guyana, and Benita Vital of Dominica. And we thank all of our writers again for what was some extraordinary pieces of prose contained in Where is the Justice? Now, we cannot move on if we don't make mention of our parliamentarians who are part of this publication, who debated on the resolution last year, and I'm just going to emphasize on their names a bit. We have Trina Amina Rowe Palacio of Belize, Boykin Smith of the Bahamas, Daniel Edwards of Dominica, Pierre Cook Jr. of Guyana and Barbados, regional integration, Woody Gist of Haiti, Khadija Stewart of Trinidad and Tobago, Kaisha Joseph of Antigua and Barbuda, Unique Plummer of Jamaica, Christian Zakor of Trinidad and Tobago, Gabrielle Saint-Hilaire from Dominica, Gabrielle Gay of Barbados, Shamar Wedderburn of Jamaica, Sade Gustave of St. Lucia, Rion Potter in the Cayman Islands, and Riaz Rupnarain from Guyana. I want to thank all of you again. The entire Caribbean Climate Justice Project team wants to thank you for entering this competition, for taking a chance on yourself and your creativity, and seeing how it has paid off for you right now. Now, as I mentioned, we want to take in a couple of words from our contributors who will explain to you why they joined, the inspiration, and even what their work means to them. So first we have Jeremy Joseph, followed by Jabari Superville, and then Dominic Williams.
Hello, my name is Jeremy Melchizedek Joseph. I am from Trinidad and Tobago, and my piece of destruction is about Mother Earth as a body and us being cells going against her and becoming cancerous, making her sick, and these symptoms being a direct metaphor to the symptoms of climate change on Earth itself. But I do believe that together we can revert back to a regular cellular structure and nurse our mother back to health.
Hi, my name is Jabari Superville, and I wrote the poem Fever Dream. Now, my knowledge of climate change has been an ongoing and continuous discovery, one that started off in a very shocking way, much like the protagonist of my poem. You know, when he says, "I don't like liars, so I broke up with my girlfriend and I deleted the weather app from my phone." That's him being in a state of complete shock and almost feeling like quote-unquote betrayed by the weather patterns and what's going on in the climate. And as the poem goes along, he really understands and tries to wrap his mind around the changing climate within his Trinidad and Tobago. And for me, I think it's really important to kind of spin that narrative on how we as the Caribbean deal with climate change. A lot of the times we are looked at as developing nations and behind the curve, and I really think it's important for us to show that we are stepping out there and making waves and making moves to fight climate change in the Caribbean and to create a better, more climate-friendly environment for generations to come.
Hi, my name is Dominic Williams. I am a 16-year-old from the beautiful Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, and I would have submitted an essay entitled Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis Addresses the UN General Assembly. I would have written my speech inspired by the disproportionate effects of climate change on the Caribbean and other small developing island states, developing countries, and the global south, compared to world superpowers and developed nations, countries that are more industrialized. As small economies, we are physically incapable of making a significant contribution to global emissions. Because we are not the ones contributing to this problem, any action that we take to mitigate our emissions is also negligent in the grand scheme of global emissions. However, we carry with us the brunt of the impacts of climate change. Altered rainfall patterns, increased dry spells, droughts, rising ocean levels, declining biodiversity, not to mention the increased incidence of extreme hurricanes making landfall. are now realities that we must bear as a region and that other vulnerable regions have to contest with. It's highly unfair, to say the least. But this is also reflected on a micro scale when we look within our own communities and at who is affected most by climate change. These are often the persons with the least ability to help themselves or protect themselves. However, the first step to solving these disparities is to recognize that this inequity exists. The second step is to hold the people with the power accountable. I would have also been inspired by our regional leaders who have taken that second step and have gone to the UN and demonstrated courage in voicing our experiences in dialogues with the people who hold the power to change it. I still remain optimistic about regional and international cooperation. I feel like without that step, there is no great transition for us all into a future that is safer and more sustainable.
And thank you guys for listening. Again, you can purchase Words of Justice on Amazon, where you can take in all of these pieces of prose and poetry and photography from our very talented contributors from across the Caribbean region. Now, as we mentioned, the Caribbean Climate Justice Project has not only facilitated this competition, but also provided an avenue for young Caribbean people to make a valuable contribution on the discussion on climate justice. Some of these youth parliamentarians, along with other climate activists, are now heading action groups for the Caribbean Climate Justice Project on various issues that cross-cut with climate change and climate justice. Let's hear now from Gabrielle Gay, Muflas James, Woody Sheast, and Boykin Smith.
Greetings, I'm Gabrielle Gay, Caribbean Climate Justice Youth Parliamentarian and founder of the Erlin Bradshaw Foundation. My passion for climate justice is truly limitless, and my work oversees the implementation of climate justice through the extremely critical medium of education. Combining the Sustainable Development Goals, number 4 for quality education for all, number 13 for climate action, and number 16, which focuses on peace, justice, and sustainable institutions, we created the FemLex cohort. This is the first ever fully certified legal mentorship entrepreneurship program in the entire Caribbean Americas. We are training and creating the next generation of fully equipped climate justice lawyers and politicians to give our small island developing states a seat at the table, both in and outside of the boardroom, in and outside of the courtroom, and to ensure that our interests legally and politically are protected. So on behalf of the Erlin Bradshaw Foundation, I wish to extend my deepest gratitude to the Caribbean Climate Justice Project, because we are creating the next generation of fully trained and certified climate justice leaders to take over the world.
People with disabilities globally are disproportionately affected by climate change. The NCPD is extremely grateful to the Caribbean Climate Justice Project for partnering with us and for funding a vulnerability mapping exercise in select rural and coastal communities in St. Lucia. This project will allow us, using regular smartphones, to geotag and collect data on persons with disabilities and climate change related threats in their respective communities. We will therefore be able to locate them on a virtual map and connect them to relevant support services, government departments, and emergency management mechanisms. Thank you, Dr. Jimmy Fletcher, for your commitment to the inclusion and participation of our organization in Caribbean climate justice.
En tant que membre du Parlement des jeunes de la Caraïbe sur la justice du climat, je réalise un projet de formation et de renforcement de capacité pour les jeunes en Haïti, car je considère les jeunes comme étant les plus concernés, comme étant le moteur du mouvement pour lutter contre le changement climatique. Car 10 ans, 20 ans, 30 ans après, nos aînés, ils ne seront plus là. Mais ce sont nous, les jeunes d'aujourd'hui, qui allons vivre les prédictions de 30 ans, de 50 ans, etc. Donc nous, en tant que jeunes, nous devons vraiment être actifs dans ce mouvement. Et je considère ce projet vraiment primordial pour les jeunes en Haïti, car ce projet va vraiment permettre aux jeunes de la communauté de s'intégrer dans ce mouvement qui est le mouvement de lutter contre le changement climatique.
Hi, my name is Boykin G. Smith, and I'm a climate justice activist with the Caribbean Climate Justice Project. And last year, I participated in the inaugural Youth in Parliament on climate justice, where we passed a dynamic and bold resolution to bring about climate justice throughout the region. Since then, we have been re-engaged by our coordinator, Dr. James Fletcher, to bring about more advocacy and education to climate justice. Basically the biggest threat impacting us as small island developers. We've been in good conversation about climate finance and tourism, and I've met with the Minister of Youth, Sports and Culture with regards to climate justice and the work that we're doing. And Dr. Fletcher, the coordinator of the Caribbean Climate Justice Project, has edited and curated the great talent that was brought forward last year. Won during the competition, you will be featured in this upcoming book and our dynamic and brave resolution passed by the youth parliamentarians. So look out as we launch the Anthology. Where is the justice?
Okay, thank you so much to all of our action group leaders. We will be launching more action groups in the coming weeks. So if you are interested in joining one of these groups, you can visit our website, caribbeanclimatejustice.org, where you will get more information and you can sign up to one of these groups. And we're really encouraging you to do just that. Everybody in the region has a part to play in mitigating against the climate crisis. Whether you think that nothing is too small, whether it's activism, whether it's education, whether it's making measurable changes in your society, we're encouraging you to play your part and help the Caribbean climate justice in fighting against the climate crisis and its impacts on our region. Now, climate change is not just a Caribbean issue. All across the globe, billions of people are feeling the impacts of the climate crisis. Just take a look at what's happening in Europe right now with the soaring temperatures. It's hotter over there than it is in the Caribbean. That's crazy. As Caribbean people, we must band together with our global counterparts and step together to try our best to remedy the climate crisis. And here to show international solidarity with the Caribbean Climate Justice Project is Eniza Grace from Rwanda and some members of her team at the Lost and Damaged Youth Coalition.
Hello, my name is Ineza. I am the coordinator of the Lost and Damaged Youth Coalition, which is a coalition of the youth from the Global North and the Global South, aiming to advocate and take action to address loss and damage. We are a coalition of more than 400 youth from more than 41 countries. Our work can be clustered into 4 working groups, which are advocacy, training, communication, and storytelling.
Hello, my name is Eva, coordinator of the training working group, aiming to spread knowledge and enhance understanding on loss and damage, primarily through our monthly training of loss and damage.
My name is Paul Chukuma, co-coordinator of the communications working group, aiming to spread our message within and without the coalition.
My name is Chuzuzo, the coordinator of the storytelling working group, aiming to share the real-life lived experience of the frontline community on loss and damage.
My name is Yasente Niteyeka. I'm the coordinator of a advocacy working group, aiming to lobby the global leaders by articulating our needs and holding them accountable.
Together, we want to congratulate the Caribbean Climate Justice Project
for launching its first Anthology on regional perspective
on climate justice in the Caribbean.
We believe that this is an important tool to help active advocacy
to achieve climate justice by listening to the voice of vulnerable communities
in ensuring we are delivering concrete action
to address climate injustice.
Thank you, Eniza and the LDYC team over in Rwanda. The world is a lot smaller than we think, and we see that illustrated in that video right there. Now, we're happy to hear that the Caribbean Climate Justice Project has their support. Now, even closer to home, here is Sheikh Greenidge of the Barbados Environmental Conservation Trust with some remarks of support.
Hi everyone, I'm Shay Greenwich, Executive Director of the Barbados Environmental Conservation Trust, where we focus on supporting local grassroots organizations that are working so diligently to implement environmental initiatives on the island. And it gives me such honor to be able to congratulate Dr. James Fletcher and the entire team over at the Caribbean Climate Justice Project for the successful launch of its first anthology on regional perspectives on climate justice in the Caribbean. And what makes this extra special to me is the fact that this work, this body of work, is coming from perspectives of young people. And at BECT, we could not commend this any higher as we work to continue equipping young people who need to be able to express themselves and have the knowledge sharing, capacity building, and skills training to truly become the next generation of effective leaders to tackle and address environmental issues and fight this climate crisis. Well done, Dr. Fletcher. You and your team truly deserve this.
Thank you so much, Shay, for those words of support from our friends over in Barbados. The Caribbean Climate Justice Project wants to use this time now to express our immense gratitude and support to our sponsors and all of those who have made this book launch possible. The Open Society Foundations, Robin Rihanna Fenty's Clara Lionel Foundation in partnership with Jack Dorsey's Start Small initiative, the Caribbean Community Climate Change Center, that's the 5Cs, Massey Store St. Lucia, Rocky Mountain Institute, Jade Mountain and Shasney Resort, the Caribbean Catastrophe Risk Insurance Facility, Minds Consulting Inc., and the Caribbean Regional Youth Council for their support with last year's Youth Parliament. Thank you all once more. To all of you joining us today, thanks for staying on thus far. And we now invite the founder of the Caribbean Climate Justice Project, Dr. Jimmy Fletcher, who will share some more background on where is the justice and what it means for us as a region.
This really has been a labor of love. The Caribbean Climate Justice Project and the publication of this anthology, Where is the Justice? So give you a little bit of background. 2 years ago, we were able to, with the support of the Open Society Foundations, start the Caribbean Climate Justice Project, which really started a conversation in a different direction, because up until then, most of the conversation in the Caribbean had been about climate change and climate action. But we felt it was necessary to focus on climate justice and really what was climate change doing to vulnerable people in the Caribbean? And really, when we speak of vulnerable people in the Caribbean, everybody in the Caribbean is vulnerable. Some people have different levels of vulnerability, but we all are vulnerable to climate change. Every single island, every single country in the Caribbean is a climate vulnerable country. And we felt that there was not enough attention being paid to the fact that, climate change is really causing an injustice to the citizens of the Caribbean. So that's how this project, this Caribbean Climate Justice Project, was formed. To provide support, first of all, to our negotiators, our very hardworking negotiators who every year attend these Conference of the Parties, the COPs, and do human service on behalf of the Caribbean and other small island developing states in ensuring that the global community understands just how impacted we are, and the fact that climate change for us is not an academic discussion, it's not an esoteric subject, it's something that we live every single day of our lives. Every day our farmers and our fishers and every single person in our region is experiencing climate change in one way or the other, be it through tourism, health, agriculture, water security, you name it. We are being impacted. So this Caribbean Climate Justice Project really was to take us in that direction and to provide support to our negotiators from a civil society perspective, building on the very successful 1.5 to Stay Alive campaign that we had in 2015. But we also decided that we needed to focus primarily on young people, not exclusively, but primarily on young people, because they are the ones who are going to inherit, or in fact, who have already inherited this planet that is so poisoned by greenhouse gases and all of the other environmental impacts that have been unleashed. So our first initiatives were really focusing on young people, and we decided that we do this essay, poetry, and photography competition, open it to young people across the Caribbean, and invite them to share with us their perspectives on the climate crisis and how it was impacting them. and we were blown away by the responses. I mean, we got over 390, I think over 390 poems, over 190 essays, over 170 photographs. And the challenge really was deciding which ones would make the final cut to this anthology. To be honest, this anthology could probably have been 4 or 5 volumes long, because we really did get so many quality submissions. Unfortunately, we had to choose just a few, and we settled on 14 essays, 5 poems, and 5 photographs, which we felt really captured the broad range of feelings, the broad range of reflections that Caribbean young people have on climate change. And that's the result that you see here today. Where is the Justice, which is now available on Amazon in both Kindle and paperback formats. And if you go to our website, you will see a picture of the book. And if you click on that picture or the link below that says available on Amazon, it'll take you straight to Amazon instead of having to go to Amazon and then search it. We've tried to make it as simple as possible. And you will be, as we are, blown away by the reflections in there. They're all sorts of reflections. They're reflections from someone writing as if they're writing to their climate skeptic friend. There's someone, as you saw Dominique said in her earlier piece, writing as the Prime Minister of a country addressing the United Nations General Assembly. There's a very poignant plea to Caribbean leaders to include young people. There are reflections on what climate change means to a young person, climate change and global warming from the perspective of an exasperated university student. So many different reflections. And that's what makes it so interesting, because you see the thoughts of young people, the perspectives of young people from different angles. And that's what this book has. But what the book also has in the beginning is the very ambitious resolution that you heard Boykin speak about, that was debated in the virtual youth parliament last year on climate justice. I'm really proud of our 15 youth parliamentarians who came together and produced what, in my opinion, I've been following climate change for very many years in the Caribbean, what, in my opinion, is the boldest and most ambitious statement coming from the Caribbean, not just coming from young people, but coming from the Caribbean on the climate crisis and what they think needs to be done about this climate crisis, and how they need to be included in discussions now, how they need to be framing the discussions, framing the narrative, not the token being taken along to COPs as the youth delegate, but we must have our young people at the table every time we're discussing climate change, every time we're discussing environmental issues, because it's not just that this is their future, this is their present. And I think that resolution speaks to that. So that's what this book is all about. The next phase of the Caribbean Climate Justice Project, we are equally excited about. We will have action groups, and you saw some of our action group leaders who will be taking the discussion in different areas. So looking at climate justice and vulnerable people, as Murphila spoke about, how do we ensure that we focus on the needs of our vulnerable people, particularly our disabled, climate justice and children and gender. There's another action group that'll be looking at that. Climate change, climate justice and health, climate justice and food security. So if you are interested in being part of that conversation, part of that advocacy, go to our website again. The action groups are there, and sign up, and we will contact you to see how you could help us in your own community. That's the great thing about working virtually now, that we don't have to all come together. We can do work in our communities. And what we've done is made some modest allocations to each of these action groups so that they have some money that they can do work in their areas. We also will be working with our journalists, and we know that there's some work that is started by the Media Institute of the Caribbean, and we want to work more closely with them, so that we can ensure that our journalists cover climate justice issues. We can ensure that our journalists also have a repository of information on what are the main climate justice issues that they should be looking at. They have people that they can go to. They have credible sources of information, and that they carry more stories on climate justice. We want to take at least one young person and one journalist to COP for the next 2 years. We're hoping that we can do it definitely for Egypt, but if not, we certainly will do it for the next 2 COPs, where we can expose our young people and our journalists to what the climate change negotiations are about, and have them to be part of the negotiations, part of the side events, etc. And the final very important part for us is the educational component. And we will be unveiling some very, we think, interesting and informative educational material very soon. In addition to the information you could get on our website, we plan on launching a comic strip, plan on doing an animated series, and fingers crossed, doing a climate change board game, a climate justice board game that we think will really help in getting people to understand how impactful, how serious, how desperate this situation is, why when we say climate change is an existential threat to us in the Caribbean and the small island developing states, what we're talking about. And we really want to develop a cadre of climate justice advocates, as we have with our climate justice parliamentarians. We want everybody on board in what is, for us, the biggest threat of our lifetime. We've networked with a lot of groups across the Caribbean, and we believe that this coalition, we're very pleased with what Canary is doing, some of the work that the University of the West Indies is doing in climate justice, but we can't really overstate the importance of the partnerships that we've developed with the Open Society Foundations and with Robin Rihanna Fenty's Clara Lionel Foundation. They're the ones who make this work possible. And we really owe them a debt of gratitude, a huge debt of gratitude for the support that they've given us and the confidence that they've placed in us. So that's it for me. Nelsia, thank you. And let's continue this work.
Definitely. Thank you, Dr. Fletcher. We have a brief musical interlude by a St. Lucian artist, and his name is Joel Pinnell. You can purchase Where is the Justice on Amazon, on Kindle or paperback. Remember to follow the Caribbean Climate Justice Project. We're on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter, as well as YouTube. And our website, CaribbeanClimateJustice.org. Thank you so much for joining us, and special thanks once more to all of our amazing contributors. We are just trying to find out where is the justice. Thanks for joining us. Have a nice day.